massive damage in what looks to be...
More fighting could erupt at any moment.
Certainly confusing times. The question of where to place loyalty.
Across the inner sphere, the civil war between the noble houses continues.
Open warfare has divided the Federated Commonwealth in several...
The conflict between House Steiner and House Davion rages on.
New tensions in the Chaos March threaten to again spark fighting between former comrades. Colonel David Renard and his executive officer Major Kelly have peacefully divided the command of their forces on Carver V. The longtime friends carefully separated their troops into House Steiner and House Davion military containment zones. Colonel Renard had this to say about the Davion withdrawal.
We needed time to regroup, to look at ourselves, ask who we were. Where did our loyalties truly lie? For me, and the brave men and women under my command, the answer was clear. They were with Archon Katrina Steiner. They weren't with any rebels. But I am here to tell you, the first shot will not be fired by anyone under my command.
This was the scene on Carver V just 2 days ago. In a series of daring raids, a bandit army consisting of tanks and light battle mechs seized several Steiner outposts, stealing supplies and capturing several weapon facilities.
Archon Katrina Steiner was quick to rule out the deployment of additional troops to deal with the bandit threat.
Sending additional Steiner forces to Carver V will give the Davion rebels another excuse to bathe a peaceful planet in blood. An alternative solution must be found.
Nerves are certainly frayed in the Steiner territory.
Refugees continue to stream from the planet.
Still more bandit attacks.
The mercenaries are due to arrive shortly, ending weeks of speculation.
I'll ask you again. Was it smart for the Archon to hire mercenaries to deal with the bandit army on Carver V?
Of course it was smart. It was the best thing she could have done. Think about it. Mercenaries don't care about sides or politics. They care about getting paid. All of the great houses use them. Liao, Karita, Merrick, even your precious Davians use them. That's why the Davian commander has agreed to this solution. Kelly knows that once the bandits are dealt with, the mercenaries will pull out.
Looks like we're already famous, Commander. They think we won't be staying long, but based on the supplies you ordered, I'd say you've got other plans.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome for another gameplay. This time we are doing MechCommander 2. A little bit different than some of the other games I've done. Similar to the HBS Battletech, but also very different, much older game. As you'll see, I kind of went with the paint scheme I used in the HBS Battletech, black and gold. As you saw from the introduction to this puts you right in the middle of the planet Carver V during the FedCom Civil War and what they called the Chaos March at the time. So things get interesting. This one and the next video we're working for House Steiner, as you see. Sorry to talk over these little bitty briefings here, but they're really not that important. It's like a lot of other games, starts out simple, ramps up the difficulty as you go, but it's not an impossible game to play. I've also got the game volume turned down to almost nothing, just so it doesn't pick up in my recording thing, hopefully. That's something I've noticed in some of my other videos. So, and also you see this game does have infantry in it, although as you see they're kind of just crunchies for the battle mechs. Things, again, as I mentioned, with things getting more complicated and more difficult as we go, that includes the opposition. This first, couple of missions are not really up against much in the way of mechs. It's mostly vehicles. And the mechs we do run into, with a few exceptions, are not that impressive. So, but I will be talking about stuff as we go. Also in this game, as you'll see when we get into the post-mission stuff, your characters build up their experience, and that can be used to increase their skills as they rank up. You have to have at least one of your pilots, mech warriors, trained in sensors. Otherwise, you don't really get to use them, and they get more effective as you go. You see right now something is just like that diamond saying there's something there on the radar, essentially. It gets better as you go. It starts to differentiate between vehicles and mechs, and then it starts to differentiate the weight class, and by the time you get it mastered, if I remember right, it even tells you what kind of mech it likely is.
Nice work,
But
Commander.
it takes a while before we get
prepare
there.
our units before engaging more enemies.
You'll also see as this goes a little bit, especially in these early ones, I kind of bypass what it's telling me to do because you can still complete the missions, because some of the little stuff it's trying to do to teach you the interface and how the game works aren't really essential to get through. Like, as you see, it says repair and go through all that. I have nothing to repair, so why would I waste the time and effort? Also, it hasn't really come up yet in this, as you'll see going forward. You can earn and capture what they call resource points in this that you can use to call in support, like repair vehicles, use it to claim enemy battle mechs and things like that. Put one of your pilots in them, then you can fix it up as best you can and stuff and add it to the mission. Then you get to keep it without having to pay for salvage and stuff. So you'll see me doing that kind of stuff a lot. Another one, as I say, you'll see me skipping stuff is, in this one it wants me to salvage one of these opponent mechs. But as you're about to see, they're not really the most effective mechs. In fact, they're probably the mech I like least in Battletech, which is to say the urban mech. And I'm not going to bother wasting points and trying to salvage one of these things because I'm not going to use it. So why put the effort in? So we just blow them the hell up. You also have the issue of this, as you see the one go there, the reactor going critical, and then that one goes critical. Obviously, if it does that, you can't capture it. However, if you have splash damage turned on, you can take damage, or you can, if you're confident enough in your abilities, you can blow up a mech in a group, you know, in their enemy line, like in the formation, and they will take damage from it. So you can use it to your advantage. It'll also destroy buildings and infrastructure and things, so you got to be careful with it. Because there are some maps where you have to cross bridges and things like that, and clearly if you blow it up with a reactor going critical on a battle mech, it's not really going to be conducive to you succeeding. Here we come up against one of the stronger mechs. I think I might try to capture this one. I don't remember. It's been a while since I played this. Matter of fact, it's been almost a year since I played this. Just like with MechWarrior 3, I'm having to play this on a much older laptop. And I didn't really mention in that part of the process is I have to play it on that and record it on that with Fraps. And then hope to hell the files are small enough that I can put them on a thumb drive, because I only have a cheap one, and transfer them over to my new computer where that I can, well, newer computer, where I can then do the editing and make these videos and put everything together with them. So I got doing this, and then work interfered, and I never really progressed with it, and then moving and new job and then another new job and then everything else, it's just I never got back to it. But I happen to be homesick today. I'm whacked out of my gourd right now on Dayquil and Robitussin, so I figured I got nothing better to do. Let's get one of these in the can and have something productive.
Well done, Commander. This is Ambassador Yu, House Steiner's political representative on Carver V.
A pleasure, Commander. You handle yourself well.
Remember, you may have no contact with Davian forces. You're here to prevent a war, not start one.
Carver V was once held by House Liao, and there still is a sizable population of Liao loyalists here. You are warned to stay well away from them. We want to know incidents.
Let's get on with it. The bandits have taken one of my outposts. I want it back. Your tactical officer will give you the specifics. Recapture the outpost, Commander. I want this over as soon as possible.
as you can see here, the mech lab and things like this, when I get into the modification, which is what I think I'm about to do here, is a bit different than some of the other games, much more simplified, streamlined. In this one, you're not one of the pilots. Clearly, you're the one in command of the unit giving the orders. So I guess you could kind of look at this as you're putting in your inventory or your orders to the mech lab that is then going and, carrying out what you've done. So it's not exactly a real good representation of what the loadout on the mech would look like or anything. It's just you're giving your orders to your techs, and then they turn it into what you want. I'm trying to see if I have anybody who's an LRM specialist, if I remember right. But he's a sensor specialist. It doesn't hurt to have a backup, so. As I said in the other one, I'm not, in my MechWarrior 3 video, I'm not really a fan of that Bushwhacker. I do get rid of it relatively quickly, but in this early part of the game, it's not terrible. It's not the greatest thing, but it's not useless either, so I do stick with it a little longer before I start getting stuff to replace it. Also, this particular mission is going to take a while because there's a lot of stuff to do here, and it's a large map, so settle in. This one's going to be a bit lengthy. However, I will be using some of the support stuff so you can see some of that in action.
Mech power up.
We're also, you'll notice, you're seeing like that fire ant, for example, and the razorback that we have. You're seeing mechs that you might not be real familiar with, or you might never have even seen anywhere else. This game included a lot of the relatively new to the FedCom Civil War era, post-clan invasion era battle mechs. There's a lot of the old classics are there. You'll start seeing them pop up too. But at this stage of the game, like the Bushwhacker is pretty much brand new since 3050. The Razorback is a brand new scout mech. And, excuse me, a lot of the stuff we're running into in this part of the game and going into the next section of it will be a lot of like House Liao mechs that are, at this stage, they're coming out with a bunch of new stuff that is pretty interesting. Not all of it is great, but it is interesting. House Liao might not be the most effective and imposing of the great houses, but they do have a knack for making some good battle mechs when they put their minds to it. There's also, I think, part of it too is a lot of this is still in the era of the unseen that I mentioned in the HBS Battletech playthrough, that some of the more popular, well-known mechs that players familiar with the setting might have been expecting were still considered to be unseen at this point. They couldn't use them, so they pretty much had to go with like all FASA original battle mechs, not stuff that had been the design for the visuals licensed from other agencies and stuff.
This base supports
so it kind of limits as far as, old school mechs, what you can see in here. You do, especially with the assault mechs, you see some of the old school good inner sphere stuff. And also because of the timing of this, much later on into this playthrough, you'll see me using a whole bunch of clan mechs. Because this is post-clan invasion, this is also post... what do you want to call it? Operation Bulldog and Task Force Serpent and all that. So both the Steiners and the Davions have a lot of former clan equipment that they have captured and salvaged from the battlefields and put into use. So you'll be seeing as the game goes more of that stuff popping up. I also, as dumb as it sounds, you will see me taking out these civilian 18-wheelers, basically, because they pop up as an enemy on the radar, and it's a pain in the ass to have your radar map keep pinging for something that is not even a threat like that, but just deal with it, just so you don't have to listen to that radar ping noise all the time.
Enemy resources captured.
I'm trying to build up as many resource points as I can for the end portion of this, because I have my own particular way I get through the end of this. I'm somebody who very much believes in combined arms, as I've mentioned in some of my other videos, and this is a game where you do get to employ it. You can use artillery, you can use mines, you can use airstrikes and all that, so I tend to employ them whenever possible. Because that's something that I believe I've also mentioned in other ones, is these games kind of give you the impression that the only real effective thing on the battlefield is battle mechs. And to a certain extent, they are probably the most effective on the battlefield. Especially if you consider, you know, all that firepower under the command of one pilot, not an entire crew like on a tank. But at the same time, they're also very expensive, very difficult to maintain, very intensive to produce. So the other stuff still has its place in these battlefields. So you do see it more so in the lore and the fluff than you tend to see it on tabletop. Most people just want to play the stompy robots. I'm somebody who, as I've said, that's one reason I like the Eridani Light Horses. They're very much a combined arms unit. They have aerospace and artillery and armor and everything all incorporated right into their units, which is something that I very much enjoy. So the battalion of Eridani Light Horse mechs that I've got, or I should just say battalion of Eridani Light Horse that I have, about half of the minis I have are actually vehicles, including long-term artillery, and the unit is taken right out of one of the source books, so it's not complete. I still have to get the aerospace assets for it and a few other things, but I've got about 2/3 of the unit complete right now, and it is about an even 50-50 split between vehicles and battle mechs. Everything from light tanks to assault mechs. That gives you might not have the overwhelming firepower that some units and houses prefer, but it does give you much more tactical flexibility on the battlefield to meet pretty much anything. It's also an annoying thing with this portion of the game, as a lot of the vehicles you're running up against are hovercraft. So you have to chase them through shallow water and across these tiny little islands to be able to take them out, which is very, very irritating. But if you don't, sometimes you can't complete the mission objectives, so you have to. Sometimes it's easier to just take everything out and take the time and effort, especially in this game, because, you know, as you say, as you see there, it says destroy all bandit forces and destroy all bandits at the base and all that. If you don't take all this stuff out, you don't complete the mission. And I've had times playing this where I've spent like a half hour running back and forth around the map trying to find the one thing I didn't destroy to complete the mission. And not just this map, but other ones too. It gets very irritating, so just methodically go around. Take a look at the map, figure out how you're going to go, and once you have sensors on stuff, track it down and kill it. I kind of want to open my window for some fresh air right now, but it's a little on the chilly side. I don't think I want to bother with it. Plus, there's a lot of noise going on outside. I get enough background noise in some of my videos, I don't want to add to it if I don't have to. But with the way I've been getting coughing fits, the fresh air might be a good thing. We'll see what happens. I'm trying to edit out as many of my coughs as I can, so you don't have to listen to them, but if I have one hit in the middle of talking or something, I might not be able to. We've also been having up here, probably part of the reason I'm sick is this last couple of weeks here in upstate New York, we've been getting pounded with snow. And as part of my job, I have to go out and clear it and shovel it and snow blow it and salt and everything else. And I think just being out in the weather day after day after day, even though I'm usually dressed pretty warm, has just gotten me to the point where I think it's either a chest cold or something going on, but chest pain, congestion, and all that fun stuff. There you go. Now we're starting to bring in the air support. We got the points to do it. Let's just knock this stuff out. Yeah, we took the turrets and everything out there without having to deal with them. We can weaken the vehicles. As I said, for the hiccuping and rambling, I'm sorry, I'm a little loopy from the cold medicine and the cough medicine.
Flash here. Looks like I'm in the hot seat.
I have another way I usually do this, but I think this one being, knowing I was playing it for the video of this, I wanted to do it the somewhat quicker way. I'm usually much more cagey and roundabout in the way I do this. I don't usually charge right into the base like this.
Mech power-up detected.
But at the same time, the opposition you're up against is not really all that tough either. Fire ants and things like that. Fire ant, if you're familiar with older stuff in BattleTech, it's basically an up-gun, slightly more powerful fleet. I don't know if it's literally a development of it, but as far as its weapons and capability, that's basically all it is.
Objective complete.
There we go. I didn't bother destroying everything this time. Those numbers that come up are your money that you have to spend on things, by the way. It's not just points.
I seem to be getting my money's worth, Commander.
Colonel, you'll want to see this. My operatives have uncovered the routes of several bandit supply convoys moving through the sector.
Very good. I want the first heavy recon mobilized in 5 minutes. They'll destroy the convoy headed south. I want you to intercept the second convoy heading east. If her information is correct, there's a mobile headquarters included in the convoy.
I'm still trying to figure out, after years and years of having played this game on and off, why the heck the costume people decided to put his rank insignia on upside down. Those shoulder epaulets he's got, they're supposed to be the button at the top and flat along the shoulder seam. They got them backwards, but whatever. It's the future!
I've taken control of your console for tactical review, sir. The convoy will be taking this road to the base. We should take out this military checkpoint and ambush the convoy when they come through here. Unfortunately, the enemy has set themselves up pretty well. The turret controls are very well protected. It'll be tough getting to them without being shot up in the process. Instead, we can fire at those fuel tanks. Destroying a fuel tank will cause a large explosion, damaging everything within the blast radius. We can also try shooting those turret generators.
You also might notice, if you're somebody who's into the lore of BattleTech, your unit here is unnamed. This is not any kind of canon merc command that you're part of. This is basically just your little mercenary starting out as a lance here that was contracted to do this, and you can grow it as you go. As you see, you can deploy an entire 4-lance command by the end of this. However, those slots also include resources, assets you deploy. So if you've got, 16 mechs on the field, you can't deploy artillery and things like that because there's no slot to put it in, so you have to be careful. I don't think, because as I said, it's been a long time since I did the playthrough of this. I don't think I ever deployed more than 2 or 3 lances. I might, but I don't really recall. I mean, if you want, you could put out 16 light mechs as long as it's within drop limit, but I tend to, when they're available, I tend to favor heavier assets. Especially once the clan stuff comes along. Wait for stuff to move a little closer. And then, as I mentioned, splash damage. you get to do this.
Objective complete.
There's a mech down without even having to shoot it. I'm thinking now in retrospect, I might have cut out the stuff with the allocating the salvage and training up my warriors and stuff. It might have just not popped up yet. It's possible this early in the game, but I'm kind of surprised I haven't seen it yet. But just like anything else, as you go and your pilots get more experience, they will also get better with their marksmanship and things like that. They get much more efficient with their weapons. And as you'll see when I get into that, if it does show it in this, you can even get the specializations as far as you could put somebody that is specialist with ER lasers versus regular lasers, or pulse lasers versus regular lasers, and you can get them where, you know, if you know you're going to be putting somebody in a particular mech with a particular loadout going forward, you can optimize them for the mech that you plan on putting them in.
Also, enemy convoys often contain resource.
You can, you know, medium auto cannons, light auto cannons, heavy auto cannons, they're all specialties in this. So if you like say with the, you know, the light auto cannons and the pulse lasers, if you want to have if at some point you get Jaeger mechs, and you want to have a pilot that is very, very effective with the weaponry the Jaeger mech carries, you can specialize them in light auto cannons and lasers or whatever. Or just light auto cannons and just put them, you know, basically 4 Ultra AC2s on there. Even though I think Ultra auto cannons is a separate specialty, but you know what I mean. You can, you know, say going forward I plan on getting this loadout, because you can go into the encyclopedia and see what mechs are available before you not like you got to unlock them. You can look and say, oh, at some point the Jaeger mech is going to be available and it carries these weapons and I like that mech, so I'm going to have one of my pilots specialized in the weapons it carries ahead of time, so that when it's available I can pop them in it and they can just rip shit apart. You know, you can do that. Or you can look ahead and, you know, if you're somebody who likes missile spamming, you can have a couple of pilots that are spec'd in LRMs and long-range weaponry and things like that, and they can just rain missiles down before anything can even come in and hit you. Depending on how you want to play this game or what your preferences are, if you're somebody that comes from tabletop and knows the weapons and what you want to do, you can spec your pilots in it ahead of time, so that when the time comes, you're ready to go. You can specialize them in light, medium, heavy, or assault mechs depending on their rank and all that other stuff. So it definitely opens up a lot of tactical possibilities going forward if your pilots are really, really good at something and you know that's going to be useful later on. Just even if you've never played the game, but you know, like, okay, when they're available, I'm going to want to be using heavy mechs, so I'm going to spec my pilots in the kind of weapons heavy mechs usually carry. That kind of
Data
thing.
from the HQ vehicle now, Commander. Whoa. Wait a minute. Sir, this data contains the command structure of the whole bandit army.
Enemy resources captured.
I noticed. The leader of the bandits is a guy named Vaughn. He's an officer for House
There you
Steiner.
go, House Liao.
I don't know what's going on, but I think this job
They're never involved in fuckery or advanced fuckery. No, never. Not House Liao. Why would they be sponsoring bandits on a planet within the space of another realm? Even though they do have a presence on this one. Carver V is one of the ones that's split up between numerous houses as a peacekeeping force kind of thing. This is the era of the Second Star League, so they're theoretically all buddy-buddy right now, but they really aren't. House Liao is trying to take advantage of House Davion being preoccupied with the FedCom Civil War to get things back that they took from House Liao in the Fourth Succession War, things like that. This is the era of Sun Tzu Liao. Spoiler alert, though, going forward, you get to pull some advanced fuckery of your own on the Liao here. Cho, I believe, is the family name.
I copy. Long shot here. Copy target.
Yeah, in fact, it's been so long since I played this. The computer that I played this on and did the recording on, I've been in this apartment I'm in now for 6 months now, and I've not even plugged in or turned on that laptop in the time that I've been here. Taking it shit out. I want to capture the frickin' turret control building there. That stuff keeps coming too close. There, finally. You also in this, as you'll see, I believe this is one of the instances where it happens. You'll see when you capture weapons research facilities and things like that, that's how you unlock access to more advanced weapons and stuff. This is basically, what they're working on or stockpiling there. Once you capture it, you can then use it, employ it. You start out with bare bones minimum weaponry and equipment, and as you go, you unlock or capture access to more stuff. Especially once you start getting into the clan stuff, it gets really interesting. And the weapons tech you have that pops up when you capture stuff is pretty entertaining too. Very much old NCO vibe. Yeah, there you go, weapons facility. I think weapons cache would be a better name for it, but whatever.
All right, Skipper. You got yourself a stash of pulse laser weapons. It's a simple trade-off. They do more damage than regular lasers, but they generate more heat.
Why are the rest of them still sitting in the base when I clicked up here? Get your lazy butts up here.
Commander, Steiner just informed me that there's a large bandit force heading our way. We need some support. Capture any resource buildings in the area.
If my microphone is picking up an occasional popping noise, one of the apartments further up from me is getting renovated right now. Might be picking up some construction sounds. I can hear them outside the window, but I don't know if they're strong enough for the microphone to pick them up. We got enough snow out of nowhere here yesterday that I was kept up half the night last night and woke up early this morning by snow plow and snow blower and stuff out there. We were called for to get potentially up to an inch over the next 48 hours as of when I got out of work yesterday. Right around the time I got home, the sky opened up and we got a foot in about 4 hours. So even giving them the benefit of the doubt, they were off by 11 inches. And if you're one of the many other countries that does not use the Imperial system, that's about 1/3 of a meter. Over the last week and a half, it's compressed way down because where I am we got lake effect snow, but over the last week and a half, total snowfall before it compressed, just measuring it as it comes down, we've gotten about 5-6 feet of snow. Or about 2 meters. Getting real sick of it. It's typical for winter around here, but it doesn't mean I want it all coming down every day nonstop. A couple of even a couple of days of no snowfall would be nice. A week or two would be heaven at this point. It basically hasn't stopped snowing since about Christmas here. At Christmas, we didn't have any snow. By New Year's, we did. And since New Year's, the 2 weeks since New Year's, as I say, we've gotten about 2 meters, about 5-6 feet of snow. It is compacted down to about 2 feet, but it certainly makes driving to work at 6 o'clock in the morning fun.
Objective complete.
Since I drive a state road that for some reason they don't plow in the morning.
According to the data you recovered, the bandit leader is Chung Vong, a House Liao commander who attempted to take this planet in 3057.
Steiner intel shows him on active duty, but your data says he was dishonorably discharged.
Someone's lying. There's another supply convoy moving up the Little Yangtze River. Stop them before they cross it.
Colonel, that river is the border of Liao territory. I urge you not to take military action so close to House Liao.
I'm not taking military action. He is.
Colonel,
I try not to talk over those, sorry. Much like in MechWarrior 3, the mission briefings for this lay out a lot of what's going on, so I don't have to talk about it as much. And they're pretty well done, so I don't want to talk over them. There we go, got access to a few more mechs. Also, anytime you come up with a custom configuration, you can buy that configuration. It gets added to the store. You don't have to modify. If you could come up with a loadout you really like, you don't have to modify the rest of the mechs when you buy them to meet it. You can buy them with that loadout.
Airstrike confirmed. Commencing countdown. Pale Rider here. Good is dead.
It is nice being able to call in air support. I almost did this in Iridani Light Horse colors, but they weren't involved in this, so I didn't want to be goofy like that. They were involved in this during the Ameris Civil War. They helped take Carver V back from the Ameris Empire, but at this stage of history, they were not involved in Carver V. I think at one point in this it does mention something as having been destroyed or extensively damaged during the Star League Civil War and all that. I can't remember for sure because there's so many BattleTech games. I could be confusing exposition from one with another. But the Ameris forces actually used chemical and nuclear weapons on the Star League units that were coming in to take this planet like they did on many others. So there was a lot of ecological damage done to the planet. Because remember, the Ares conventions are more like the Ares suggestions. One of the things people that talk about how great the Star League was in the lore like to forget is the Ares conventions, which was supposed to limit nuclear, biological, and chemical weapons and orbital bombardments and all that. One of the first things the Star League did when it was established was revoke the Ares conventions. People tend to forget that when they talk about the glory of the Star League.
Objective complete.
Technological golden age, definitely not a golden age in terms of lack of barbarity and violence. Infantry. And as usual, they really don't accomplish much other than soak up some rounds meant for something else. You'll also notice in this, I don't believe it's possible to run out of ammunition. You don't have to allocate tonnage to ammunition for your weapons.
Mercenary Commander, you are in violation of Liao territory. For destroyed.
Liao Control, this is Lieutenant Diaz.
Which makes things easier from a logistical and in-between mission standpoint when you're doing your loadouts and stuff, but it is a little bit funky with the usual way that the battlefield is depicted.
Lieutenant, you may consider your mission successful.
Logistics and ammunition are a big part of campaigns and BattleTech, and taking it away from the game just feels weird for somebody that's come from that.
If anyone attempts to impede your mission, you will destroy them. There is a weapons
Oh,
facility to
urban maps. Great.
We will exact payment from House Liao for their interference. Once your objectives are complete, move to the extraction point.
He doesn't know what House Liao is up to. They're up to their usual fuckery, that's what they're up to.
Flash here. I'm under attack. I got the building. The building's ours. Aborting capture. Sure thing.
Not to be confused with Liao dumbfuckery. That's more earlier in the universe. Or Maximilian and Romano Liao. They were both batshit freaking crazy. Sun Tzu liked to pretend he was to keep people off balance, but he was actually smart as hell.
Long shot here. Target locked in. Roger that.
His sister Kali, on the other hand, was batshit fucking crazy. Also, as this goes, when you have the pop-ups and the mission briefings, pay attention to Colonel Renard. He does kind of slowly descend into paranoia and madness through the course of this game. I think they did actually a pretty good job depicting it, too. It's not ham-fisted or clubbing you over the head. It's actually pretty well done. Yes, I'm smoking while I have a chest cold. I don't inhale them. I smoke cigars.
That was pretty.
How do I end up going around this? I think I go down here and come up through the road. Some of these maps you've really got to watch out for minefields, especially when you're dealing with House Liao, but I don't think this one it's an issue. I could be wrong, but I don't remember this one having that. At least not the way I go. I think there's another route you could go where you run into that. Ooh, an Anubis, that's a totally new mech. Take out those LRM carriers. I like how the LRM carriers in this are depicted as looking a lot like an MLRS from the modern world. It's not usually how they're depicted in the setting. It's kind of cool to see them like that. Anubis is another light mech from House Liao. I believe the Razorback is, too. Why we have him, I don't know, but it could be Steiner. I don't really know this stuff from this period as well. This is around the time when I started to lose interest in where the storyline was going with BattleTech. I didn't really have an issue with the FedCom Civil War in principle, but it felt very rushed the way they did it in the novels and stuff. Up to a certain point, it kind of made sense, and then all of a sudden, it just... it was done. It just seemed very abrupt the way they ended it. Like they built up for much more and then ran out of time to do it, which was probably the stuff going on with FASA at the time.
Mech power-up detected.
This was around the time FASA was getting close to closing its doors. And the game got taken over by FanPro, I believe, and WizKids at around this time. Not long after this game went out is when they, or came out is when they did the hard reset on the setting and had the Word of Blake era, and it moved into the Dark Ages and stuff with the lore. So this is getting toward the end of the old, what we tend to call the classic BattleTech storyline.
Imagine something that can blow the arm off a mancat from long range using almost no heat. An elegant weapon. Roger. I'm getting misty.
That takes him machine gun. Now we run our asses up
House
here and
Liao
get
is
done
sure
with
to
this.
send reinforcements. You'd better find a defensive position.
How much is left? We're most of the way through. I think there's one mission left after this.
Long shot here. I'm taking fire.
Why can't we extract? Am I in the wrong place? Is it not on top of the hill or something? There we go.
Objective complete.
As I said, it's been a long time since I played this. I remember the mission beats, but not the specifics of this playthrough.
Enjoy the weapons you captured, Commander. A prize for a job well done.
You have violated House Liao's territory, Colonel Renard.
I have no idea what you're talking about, madam. House Liao said there were no bandits in that region. Why would any of my forces be there?
I officially protest.
Noted. One of my civilian spies is missing. I sent him into Liao territory last night. He's being held prisoner in a facility across the Little Yangtze. Recover him. Incidentally, Liao has a fuel depot nearby. An explosion there would make a good distraction.
Colonel!
That will be all.
Yeah, I must have skipped that, because I don't... We got the Xiaoyu there, and I don't remember... Or we didn't do any allocation of salvage here, so... Yes, I'm that anal that I try to make things symmetrical. I believe this is the last mission of this portion of the playthrough. I broke the Steiner one into 2 videos because it was a couple of hours of gameplay. I believe this is the end of the first hour, this mission, and then the next one will pick up where this one left off. You'll also notice, if you see when there's secondary objectives and stuff, I'm enough of a completionist that I try to complete the secondary objectives too. Because especially when you get into the later portions of the game, having a nice little nest egg of money to fall back on if you need to buy more mechs is handy.
Objective complete.
That objective completed. Then we come over here and hit for this objective. Well, actually, that's not an objective, but we can take out a battle mech over here. Take the mech out first. You got into range before we got over there.
Target locked in.
Unlike the HBS, you don't have to buy your new pilots. I believe this is one of the ones in the campaign where you do manage to pick some up to add to your roster. But you've got a pretty good to start, and, you know, they don't cost you money like they do in the HBS game. You just got to keep track of who you're using, because if you're trying to get people trained up, you want to make sure you're using them as much as possible. They can get killed, though, so you need to be mindful of that. It's very frustrating to be in the late stages of the game when the opposition is getting really rough and to lose one of your very well-trained pilots. But c'est la guerre.
Okay, sir. The building's ours. No sweat.
Yeah, I believe when you capture Objective 4, you unlock at least one new pilot. I know you get Steel. I don't remember if there's other ones, though. I think there is.
Objective complete.
You got yourself some ER energy weapon technology there, Skipper. ER stands for extended range. Same damage, but it fires.
That's gotta hurt.
Also, much later in the game, one of the things that it mentions with that weapons guy that pops up, he mentions something much later on in the game when you unlock clan stuff. He makes a passing reference. He says, "I fought the clans on Tukiad," which means he's former Comstar, which is a little weird, especially knowing what's coming in the setting. I hope he's Comstar and not Word of Blake. But yeah, that was one at the time. I was like, oh, cool, he was in Comstar. And then afterwards what happened, I was like, ooh, we had a guy in our command structure that was former Comstar. Ooh.
Hacksaw here. As good as dead. Okay, sir. Enemy destroyed.
It's also kind of odd for him to say that, because it's not common for people to leave Comstar and go work in the private sector. Usually Comstar is a lifetime employment. It's a bit of a cult. Word of Blake is worse, but even Comstar is a bit of a... At this point, they'd split. The more cultish members splintered off into the Word of Blake, but... Before the clan invasion and stuff... Comstar, if you're familiar with other settings, is somewhat similar to like the Tech Priests and the Mechanicus of Warhammer 40k. They do technology through like rote memorization of like rituals to make things work. Like a lot of them don't even understand the technology they're using. They treat it like religious artifacts. That's not to say the organization itself doesn't, but that's one way they keep control over things, is by basically saying that, you know, this stuff is not technology you can understand. It is, you know, artifacts to be worshipped and venerated. So, you know, that kind of helps them keep control over their communications monopoly. Convincing the common people basically that, you know, they're the only ones that can use this stuff because they're the only ones that understand the rights to use them. R-I-T-E-S, not R-I-G-H-T-S. Comstar itself has kind of gotten away from that at this point of the timeline, but that's one reason Word of Blake broke away, is they thought that was sacrilegious and yada yada, and they were betraying Blake's vision and all that other BS. If you don't know what I'm talking about with that, watch Sven Vanderplank's video series on the First Succession War. He really gets into how Comstar goes from a portion of the old Star League bureaucracy to become a techno cult. I won't, it's a lot to get into here, and it's really not important to this story, so I won't bother, but if you're curious, definitely go check out Sven Vanderplank's First Succession War videos. Everything in there is right out of the source books and the novels, so it is all canon lore. Even the more ridiculous sounding portions of it.
Vehicle captured. Long shot here. Sir, I'm under attack.
And Sven's videos are just awesome anyway. Go watch them. I love Sven. I support him on Patreon.
Long shot here. Target locked in. Flash here. He's mine. Job. Vehicle destroyed. Sweat. All about me. Check.
I used to support the Black Pants Legion too, but the main reason I liked them was for their podcast, which they haven't released a new episode of in like 2 months, so I've stopped supporting them on Patreon.
Complete.
I do still watch some of their stuff on YouTube when it pops up if it's something interesting, but the main thing I wanted to support they aren't really doing anymore, so I stopped supporting.
Flash here. I'm under attack. Gotcha, crawler. The building's ours. Roger. Gonna feel this one. Clean his clock.
Sorry if it picks that up. I got a dry spot on my shoulder. It's itchy as hell. Very bad dry skin this time of year.
Hacksaw here. It's as good as dead. I copy. Destroyed. Hacksaw here. Launching in target.
Yeah, this is the last mission of this one. So we're all get close to done with this.
Flash here. Target confirmed. Roger. Flash here. He's mine. Enemy destroyed.
More resources.
No sweat.
I believe I have the post mission at the end of this, so when the actual game starts, I will finish the voiceover so I don't talk over that.
Captured. Turrets deactivated.
We got a little bit more to go here. I will put a link to that Sven Vanderplank video in the description of this if you're curious. If there's somebody who just stumbled across this and really doesn't know Battletech and want to know more what I was talking about.
Long shot here. Target locked in.
Taking a little bit of leg damage there, Hacksaw. Not enough that he's limping though, thankfully.
No sweat.
Mech power-up detected.
Building is mine. Roger. The building's ours. No sweat.
Objective complete.
Thanks for the rescue, Commander. Sounds like you messed him up pretty good down the river. One of your big shots, I think his name was Vaughn. He seemed pretty scared of you. Listen, I've had it with House Steiner and I could use a job. I was mech warrior about 20
send a transport to extract him, sir. If he checks out, I'll add him to the roster.
No, it looks like there's no video at the end of this. So I'll sign out now. Have a good one. We'll see you on the next, which won't be that long in coming, because all I got to do is the voiceover and compile the two. So have a good one. Take care of yourself, and we'll see you on the next one. Later.
Objective complete.